Hi there, my name's Mark and these are my Dice Tales, and today I've been looking at alternative rule systems for solo skirmish wargaming. What do I know about solo skirmish wargaming? A little bit, not too much. I've probably played 2 solo skirmish wargames myself that are specifically solo. The 2 that I played are Rangers of Shadow Deep and Call to Arms, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which are new coming out. Rangers of Shadow Deep is a little bit older. I don't have the dates. Skyrim is the Call to Arms Skyrim system. It's hopefully due out early June now, with the little bit of the warehouse restrictions being lifted. So that's what I know. So why am I doing a video and doing a top 10? I'm doing it because I've been doing lots of research. I've been looking at Facebook groups. I've been typing in recommended solo and recommended solo skirmish. I haven't been typing in sci-fi or fantasy. There have been threes that specifically said I've wanted a sci-fi game or a SWAT game or a fantasy game. I looked at all these and then compiled this list. How I compiled the list, so I made a tally chart, and from that tally chart, whenever I saw a game mentioned, I put a tick next to it. If I saw a like on that recommendation, I put a tick next to it. Some of these I didn't go into real scientific detail and say, okay, Mark's already recommended on this thread and has recommended the same game on this thread. That might skew my numbers, I don't know. And the likes, I don't know where the likes are coming from, whether it's the same people voting for the same thing in this Facebook group. It's been a few Facebook groups, like 15 mil groups, solo wargame groups, which I think is the most one that I looked at. Because I would say, if your group is just solo wargaming, then that's probably the best one to look at. But I did dabble in a few other groups. It's like a skirmish group, scale groups, and even sort of specific game system groups when they've done, if I like this, what else would I like? And is there a fancy version of this and such like that. So that's where I've researched, pretty much purely Facebook. I have looked at other things as well, but when I started doing the tally chart, I just kept it to Facebook in the end. And I've come up with a top 10 list. I'm thinking I won't do much talking about them, or should I just list it below? I'm going to go through quickly, so I've got 1 being the most popular. However, some of the numbers had the same number of votes, so coming in at number 10. Let's try that again. Number 10! Right, Core Space, 1 vote. Surely it would have had more. I'm thinking it's because I don't know if this creeps in at the board games, miniature game level, that wargamers might not have looked at it. I don't know. That's why I'm theorising. But I did find out that Core Space now has its rules separately. What put me off originally was, I know it's got a core set, I know it's with a great battle system, terrain system, where you're all linked together and it looks fairly good, and it's all pre-painted. But the core set was like £70 or more. But they got a core rulebook now. I thought there was lots of tokens and things and cards with holes in to put pips in to track, I don't know whether it's ammo or staminas and such like that. So Core Space, number 10. Number 9 and number 8 are 2 systems. I've got Fubar, which is a free system. Just type in Fubar rule system and you'll find a 1-page rule set. And that will also link you to other websites where you can have army lists based on different eras, fantasy, sci-fi. I saw something called Hammers and Slammers. I'm sure there was probably a Napoleonic version, World War version, and 40k wannabe versions and such like that. Swords and Slings was another one. This is like a fantasy game. What stopped me clicking on this one was that it seemed to, as well getting the rule set, you'd probably also want to print out or make your own card deck with unique actions and rules that define the randomness in the game. And there were links to drive-through websites where you can download these card sets pre-made for you, but that was a sort of a gloss over for me in a way, because other systems always sort of mentioned, I'd mention this game, but I'd probably go with this game, or some of the threads, without going into details on what they really wanted. Right, 7, 6 and 5 all got 6 votes each. So, and some of these are multiple game systems as well. So one of them is Bolt Action. Bolt Action was often mentioned. It's a great solo game because it has put all your dice in a bag, jiggle them around, pull out a dice, natural activation, and people really like that fog of war random initiative. They thought that added tension to the game to make it a great. And easy to play solo game. Another game that came up, which I think is almost based or uses the same sort of dice in a bag mechanic, is Starbreach. Now this might have a low number of votes, because I think it's fairly new. You can't get a printout at the moment. You can't get a physical book at the moment, but you can download the free rules. It's a free one, so I should mention that. That's got to surely bump it up the rankings if there was some sort of rating system. But Starbreach, I've seen this because I've seen it as an alternative to Kill Team on various YouTube channels. And the videos I've watched does look very interesting. And again, it comes with it's fully sci-fi, model agnostic, and often model agnostic, but if you want Space Marines, there's a faction called Space Army, and if you want Tyranids, there's a faction called Space Bugs and Psychobugs and things like that. So it can cover your Martians, your human space forces, your elites armies, your orcs and your monsters, and you can probably match anything that you want into the rules that you got there. Looks very good, and artwork looks fantastic. Definitely a big draw there. The other one in this category of 6 votes, so this is 6, 7, 5, 6 and 7, is Blood in Space and Blood on the Blade. Now, Blood in Space is obviously the sci-fi version, and Blood on the Blade is the fantasy version. I've got to do a YouTube recce of these to find out more about them, because they're mentioned with one further down the list, and I want to know what the difference is, why one is more popular than the other, why would you go to one than the other. I need to get that discussion out there in the groups to say, is one newer, is one been around older? I don't know, but Blood in Space, highly recommended for like a campaign system. Again, covering all bases on what you might want on storming a starship, storming a going on quests to retrieve artifacts, and all your fantasy sci-fi tropes that you've seen in Flash Gordon, The Avengers, and Lost in Space and such like that. It seems very cool. I'm wondering if it's maybe more gritty, and I'll get to the other one. So moving on to number 4, this one comes in its own category with 9 votes. Song and Blade, or Advanced Song and Blades. This one I know you can buy on Amazon. I might put a link below for that. It's about £14 for the book, and I think you can get the PDF from Wargame Vaults and drive-through RPGs and such like that. The caveat on this one is not. This was probably the only one on my list which doesn't say it's solo, but there's so many people that recommend this. There's probably more likes, and there's probably other recommendations from forums and things that I've read, which doesn't really make this tally chart remotely scientific, because I know I've come across this many times on like Board Game Greeks in the past, in the years. It's cropped up and said, oh yeah, use this system if you're playing solo. And I think it's more like an RPG system. I think it's a D20 based system. And that's about as much as I know about it, so highly recommended, because it comes in on number 4 slot. Number 3, I was surprised at this one. I thought it would be higher, but it's a very good position, top 3. Rangers of Shadow Deep had 13 votes. Yes, I played this one, so I know about it. I like it, and I'm going to play it more, but I put it on hold for myself because I wanted the book. I played the first 2 or 3 missions with the PDF that's scrolling up and down, scrolling up and down. Oh, I'm fighting this monster now, scroll. I could have written out on cards, and I have done that sometimes, and then, oh, where's this rule, scroll. It annoyed me doing it on a PDF. Even having like a PDF with the monsters ready and the rules ready, I'm trying to have 2 systems of phones going on. Having the PDF annoyed me. I could have printed it out, I know. Oh, well, I didn't. It's costing paper and ink, and sometimes it goes wrong, and you get half faded pages near the end of the book and stuff like that, and then you want it in a wallet, and you need to force it up. I really need to look at Lulu, but I'm sure when I did look at Lulu, it came up to about £30, and a deluxe book is about £35. And you've probably got a model with it if you ordered it from North Star Games. But yeah, Rangers Shadow Deep, I'm very interested in it. I think this is the future for solo games, making very scenario-driven books. It's got many expansions, something called the Incinerator, a Blood Moon werewolf version, and it's just gone to sort of, I don't want to say swords and sandals, but it's gone to a desert theme with camels and such like that. So yeah, Rangers Shadow Deep, number 3. Number 2 and number 1 both got 17 votes, and maybe I should demand a recount and go back. but again, very similar systems. Which one do I put first or second? No, I'm going to name them both and then maybe talk about them. So, 2-hour war games and Nordic Weasel's 5-core system. So that's 5 parsecs from home and 5 leagues from a borderland. That's a sci-fi version and fantasy version. Whereas 2-hour war games has swordplay as their fantasy version and chain reaction as their version. Am I getting those mixed up? I don't know if I said those in the right order. The thing about 2-hour war games, those two that I just mentioned there are free, chain reaction and swordplay. However, so you could dabble with it, you could download it, print it yourself, or play with a PDF and check out the rules. So that's highly recommended. That's a big plus for 2-hour war games. But they also have paid versions, and like the catalogue number for the sci-fi one is 5150. I think that one's called Star Marine. I think there was one called Bug Hunt, and that's all I've sort of mentioned in my notes. So there were a few more out there as well, and it can play, from modern. I think it's from. I don't know how old it goes, whether it goes to medieval or not, but definitely Napoleonic to sci-fi. As I say, chain reaction, you probably make up the rules yourself and go with it, or you can buy systems that are literally saying, this is a Star Marine system, we've already thought everything for you. If you want jump packs, you're probably in here. If you want a mech, it's probably in this set of rules. So I haven't delved into what is in chain reaction as such, but I think this is one of the longest and purely soloist systems, longest running ones out there. Nordic Weasel, I don't know if they have any free versions or playtest versions. I've mentioned 5 parsecs from home, and this one always comes. This is the one which I wanted to compare to Blood in Space and Blood on the Blade. What's the difference between them, please? I want to know. If you have played them, could you mention something about them in the comments below and say why you think one over the other? Which one did you go with in the end? So it's definitely I've got a vibe of going for 5 parsecs. But my initial thoughts coming into, before I started making the tally charts, I was thinking, I don't want to print out the rules at Lulu. I don't want to have to go through the website and do that. I just want to buy the book and have it printed and delivered at my door. Lazy. I know. But that was my thoughts. Stop me. I was hovering. And then, don't do impulse buys. Think about it. Do your research. And now I'm in the phase of, right, so I've got my list of 10 games. Now I'm going to go away and look at them in more detail on YouTube. I have looked at 5 parsecs, looks very cool. I have looked at Star Breach, it looks very cool. Bolt actions are sort of glossed over because I think it might be nice to have specific dice that say move, advance, breach, shots, rallied. I don't know what the dice are going to say exactly. But then you get confused by like Blood in Space and 2-hour war games, chain reaction. These 3 seem to amalgamate for me. It's like, ooh, why is the fandom behind them? I'm sure it's going to be like Edition Wars, what do you call it? Company Wars. Like, is it Mantic? Is it Games Workshop? Did you play the free version? Is that why it was recommended? It's because some of these were, I'm a newbie starting out, what should I try? So maybe that's why this got more votes, because of the chain reaction and swordplay being free. What makes the paid one better? Is it a mind boggle that because I paid for it, it's better. Because I paid for it, I'll use it. When it's free, I think, I don't put that much value on it. Weird human tricks of the brain. Things that cropped up in it, but maybe didn't get enough votes. A bit like Core Space. Mantic's Walking Dead, All Out War, Here's Negan. Sort of zombie fights, SWAT versus zombie and such like that. Airfix has a wargame system. Might have been mentioned because a lot of people have Airfix models and army men to play with. I didn't really jump onto the threeds for recommendations for Napoleonic games because that gave you all sorts of like French sounding names and the Waterloo games and things like that. I was quite happy to keep it generic fantasy sci-fi. That's what this list has been about. Same with spaceship battle games were mentioned. Things like there is X-Wing out there. I think there's something called Full Throttle, which again might be a free one. And again, I didn't look at threeds that said recommend me a World War I game or a World War II game. I'm sure things like Bolt Action would have cropped up there, obviously. But again, there would have been other specific battles like Sword Beach and such like that. And I don't know, I'm sure there's going to be rule sets out there. I tried to keep to the more generic ones that anyone could jump in on. Games Workshop games were mentioned, so okay, that's the big three hitters: Necromunda, Mordheim. I played Necromunda. I've never played it solo. Mordheim, I missed out on that. I must have been at work in university when that came out, so I missed out on that the first time around. Space Hulk said it's a very good solo game. Apparently, I think it's because the aliens just run at you. It's literally you're trying to fight, and that's where the tension is. It's the attrition of you getting through mobs and mobs of aliens. Blood and Plunder was probably the only pirate game that I ever saw mentioned, and Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. I'm intrigued by that one because that's a very big popular game near me in the northwest, especially Stockport. But I know it's been a long running game, so I don't know where the rules fall, whether it's like a fourth edition of that game or something like that. I'm going to ask that on forums and find out more, and maybe do a recap of this when I've done more investigation myself, whether that is YouTube video diving. I mean, it'd be great if I could get to the shop and say, "Oh, why are you playing that? Oh, what did you pick? Did you play this, in person?" Well, I'm doing that on forums at the moment. More board gaming games were mentioned, like Blackstone Fortress, Journeys of Middle-earth, which is what is on my shelf, and some other war games which looked a bit more like moving chits around. There was a Greek one, Hellenica. I think that was it. Had lots of talk and chatter about it, and I try to avoid homebrew rules for this. Is a 2-player game, but you just play 2 sides and such like that. So yeah, I was mind blown by all these systems. There are more out there. I'm just going to mention a few now again, just in case I need to crop it into my video. Hardwired, Rogue Stars, Piquette rule system, Brutality seems to be in sort of a beta phase. We've got a Facebook group with a free PDF. Burning Sands, because I've been looking at 15mm sort of Conan, Crom's Anvil's shop. Frostgrave was often mentioned with Shadow Deep. If I added Frostgrave and Shadow Deep together, a bit like when I added 5 Parsecs from Home and 5 Leagues from a Borderland and Blood and Sand and Blood and Sword together, a Shadow Deep would have come out at, what did it come out as? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Shadow Deep would have might have won if I added people mentioning Frostgrave as well. There is that to consider. So ramble. That's it. So shall I recap that list again? Core Space, Fubar, Swords and Spell Slingers, am I saying that one right? Blood in Space and Blood on the Blade, they're one. Bolt Action, Star Breach, Song and Blade or Advanced Song and Blade, Rangers of Shadow Deep, 2-hour War Games, Swordplay or Chain Reaction, and Nordic Weasels, 5 Parsecs from Home or 5 Leagues from the Borderland. That's a top 10. Do your research, go out and play. Right, what am I going to do? Well, I've already ordered Call to Arms, Modiphius's Elder Scrolls Call to Arms Skyrim game, so I'm going to get that coming anyway in the next month, I hope. I have Battle System Terrain coming, so I can technically stick with 28mm or above heroic scale games, but I do want to sort of delve into sort of 15mm. I'm thinking we're going to need to tidy up this. If we're having family plans in the future, I'm not going to be able to have all this out. It's probably going to be sent to loft, but I would like a game that I could pull out on a kitchen table at night and try and get my wargaming fix. So what's standing out to me? I'm waiting on the book for Rangers of Shadow Deep, and I'm very intrigued by all the other expansions and the Burning Sands one, which is the latest one. But I want to be that old-fashioned and go through all the old ones first. I don't know if Burning Sands at the moment, if that's a start again from level 1 or a continuation from whatever level your campaigned Rangers would have got to. But it's the 2 games that I played, very much enjoyable. I am thinking of trying to scale it down. But then again, I'm also going to have to make a 50mm terrain as well. Some of it I can reuse, hills and things, I'm sure, but that's coming in my future. A free one that was mentioned, it's like a beta rules stage, was Perilous Adventures. Is that, what am I naming that right? Perilous Tales. And the reason I caught my eye was, one, it was a free system, it's a free PDF, about 40 pages I think, so in the realms of printing out for under a $5, I think. But it mentioned that it wasn't just killing scenarios, and I've read a bit more about it today. I think you pick like 3 objectives and try and get the best score, and it had like take photos of the villain, so you have to be 6 inches away and try and take photos of the villain and then escape with the evidence. And it's all the pulp, Dracula, Thing from the Swamp, The Day the Earth Stood Still sort of posters throughout this free PDF rule, and it sort of struck me as a sort of Doctor Who-ish kind of scenario. It might not be just about the fights, and it's just about the get in there, swing a punch, survive while a Cthulhu monster's coming at you. Yeah, I want to try it out. So yes, it looks simple enough to definitely solo. That's piqued my interest, and I think I'm going to try and print that one out. What else really caught my interest? Bot action is definitely hovering in that realm. It's just whether I can really be bothered to buy something and then try and print it out. So I really think I'm going to stick with Rangers of Shadow Deep and Skyrim Call to Arms for now, and then look at some of the free ones. And for that, 2-hour war games, chain reaction, and swordplay, I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and take those to lulu.com and print them out. And then, if I really like them, enjoy them, check out the other systems, the paid-for versions. Like, as I said, it seems like a catalogue number 5150 comes up when you're looking at these forums. It says, check out 2-hour war games 5150, and when you go there it says, Star Marine, Book Hunt, things like that. Yeah, ones that just missed out. Did look at Fubar, looked a bit too simple for me. Starbreach was sort of hovering there, but it felt like tacked on solo rules, where some of these felt like more dedicated. Song and Blade, because that was on Amazon, was an almost purchase. 5 Parsecs from Home is really, really gnawing at me. But then, when I discovered Blood in Space, that sent me on this spiral of, oh gosh, where am I going to go? It put me on hold to do more research without jumping in there. And when I think about, I don't need to jump in there because I've got these systems coming already, and there are free ones to try out there as well. So that is going to be my wrap. So starting from knowing 2 solo skirmish games to now knowing 10 more, because some of those are double entries. Did my top 10 list help? Yes, I think, because putting 2-hour war games up there, chain reaction, sci-fi, swordplay, fantasy, that's going to be a go-to, as well as exploring the 2 games that I've got coming, and this pulp Doctor Who one. Maybe just a case of picking up the scenarios and seeing how does it write scenarios. Can I drop those into 2-hour war games? Can I drop those into Call to Arms? So, I mean, it's just roll a success check when you're a villain to take a photo. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. That's where I'm at. That's me. That's what I've been thinking of. Just wanted to get a video out there in lockdown, because I think I've been a little bit on the I don't know, not playing a game, because obviously I did sped up battle reports, and I'm not doing that at the moment. And then I was playing Skyrim with proxies and playing Rangers of Shadow Deep, but flicking through the PDFs. I started playing computer games. I mean, Fortnite. I've been playing Fortnite because it's been keeping me social with my friends, because you can chat while you're running around killing people. So that's been fun. But it's trying to keep up with the family and keep the units together and helping people out when I can. So that's it. That's Mark. These have been my Dice Tales. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been of some use to you. Do let me know if it was any use to you in the comments below. If you have played some of these games yourself and you've compared them, especially, as I say, Blood in Space, 5 Parsecs, and 2-hour war games, I'm going to on my blog below. I did put, it's not very well written. I don't like writing down. I prefer speaking. But how does the game? If you're going to recommend a game, tell me how it generates attention, Why did you buy it? Is it just because it had a miniature range that you liked? Is it because it fits with the miniature ranges that you've had? Does it create tension by constantly spawning enemies, or is it by Is it by the initiative order that they pop out, or the randomness that the enemies approach you from? Is it about the static tactics? Oh gosh, that leads me into XCOM Chimera Squad. So my blog goes into why I was sort of doing this research. And XCOM Chimera Squad, it's a new XCOM game that came out. And that seems perfect for a tabletop solo skirmish. How it works is you generally breach, and an adventure might be 1 room or like 3 rooms. So you clear a room, go into room 2, clear that, go into room 3, clear that. Sometimes the monsters would run from 1 room into the next to make your next one a little bit harder. Sometimes you had to stop the monsters running away before you moved into the next room. Sometimes you had to activate a console before it timed out, like for stopping a bomb. And you just had a small selection of men. You didn't really customise your party like you did in other XCOM games, where you choose the weapons. You could go all snipers if you really wanted, or all heavies. You could generally take 4 of 9 characters, and I think there's like 2 machine gun wielders, 2 psychics, 2 shotgun wielders, 2 techno guys with the drones, and you can make a team of 4. So it felt really balanced, like they'd really thought out who you're going to take and who you're going to mix and match. If they could translate that, that's why I was initially looking at the Doom Squad game, because that talks about going from Napoleonic era up to Sci-fi. And I was thinking, oh, if that could be XCOM, and that almost has. What if a Napoleonic rifle shot at a modern day rifle? Would that give me the feeling of the aliens being a tech level higher? And then obviously I upgrade. We might have a mission where we're on the same tech level. Then the aliens upgrade something. Maybe they don't upgrade everything at the time. Maybe I start introducing plasma grenades while we've still got our submachine gun rifles with laser scopes or something. I don't know. But you had to pay for the rule set, so yeah, maybe look at Chain Reaction, see what it's got, what it can bring to the table. Some of them did say, yeah, don't jump on it, don't spend money on it, don't buy models before you've tested it. Try and use what you've got, use tokens, use paper, cutouts of your units, use flat terrain, use 3D printed flat terrain, card terrain. Yeah, don't go silly, because it's still sort of tough times possibly ahead. I mean, I don't know your circumstances, but yeah, don't go silly. Do your research. Don't go blinkers in. That's why I did this video. Hope it makes sense. So I'm going to peter out at that point. I think I've got everything that I wanted to say. Whether it made sense, I don't know, and whether you're happy with that chat. So Mark from Dice Tales signing off. That's what I'm looking into in the near future. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Stay alert. Exercise. Sanitize. Hypnotize. Magnetize. Stay safe. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.